All right, so the market is pumping. We're looking at BNT right now. If you guys took that entry I talked about just a few days ago, you would be up about 50%. We did expect it to have a little bit of a retrace, as you can see with this arrow drawn out. That it did have a little bit of a retrace, tested off the 0.382, and then took off to 53 cents. This is not the end for BNT. If you start zooming out into the daily, you can see there's a lot more space for it to run, potentially all the way up to $1.50, and past that all the way up to $4, even $10 for the next stop. So BNT, if you haven't entered yet, wait for a little bit of a pullback, but this could end up just taking off. Looking over at Doge, we had the inverse head and shoulders pattern, which played out perfectly. We see the inverse head and shoulders right here. Then once it finished that right shoulder, we had it immediately pushed up towards the 19 cents like we expected. We do want to see it push over this 200 EMA. And when it pushes over this, we have a better confirmation that it's going to continue bullish. But if you haven't entered Doge, now would be a good time as well. Not financial advice, just throwing it out there. All this is based around Bitcoin, and Bitcoin had an astronomical move from about 75,000. It was up 34%, up to 101,000. So that's a pretty massive move, which entitled the rest of the market to increase in price. And Tornado Cash, I had talked about it previously. We broke over this downward trend line, which we were waiting for. And once that happened, we had an immediate pump a few days later. And you can see the pump alone, just this pump is about 20%. So it's only $9 at the moment. But we can see an all-time high of around $400 for a $9 investment. DNT we're looking at, also trying to push upwards, break over the 200 EMA, and break this downward black trend line. When that happens, we can see a pulse upwards as well, as this is a major trend line that needs to be broken. But just keep DNT in mind along with BNT. Don't get the two confused. Looking at XRP, also had a pump. And I believe this is playing out as an inverse head and shoulders as well. You can see that this would be a left shoulder right here, followed by a head, followed by a right shoulder. And once we break over that downward trend line, we'll be able to see that it will push up to around 2.65. After 2.65, next stop is around 2.9 and 3.5 after that. Judging off this Fibonacci retracement, we could see it could potentially be hitting $6 and $7 soon. So stack your bags for XRP. That one's going to be a good one. XYO is doing its typical pattern similar to Flare, but it's also in a major cup and handle pattern. You see that once it passed over the black trend line, it had a pump up, rejection off that 200 EMA, pushed back down, found some support, and immediately pumped over that 200 EMA all the way up to 2 cents. From 1 cent, so double money, and then it's back down within the fair value gap in between these two dotted red lines. We probably will see a little bit of consolidation, but you could kind of judge it similar to this area back here in November. A little bit of consolidation, then a major pump up to 3 cents, but 3 cents isn't really the minimum that we're looking at. We are looking at something a lot bigger, which would be moving out on the daily in a massive cup and handle as well. And a high of around 8 cents. I believe this chart's not fully accurate, but 8 cents from a penny is 8x your money, and it's a very nice setup. Holding support over that 200 EMA is ideal. Now we want to see some strong volume down here and pushing it up within this handle pattern. XLM and a part of XRP, also a major pump, similar formation. Inverse head and shoulders, you can see here, trying to break that downward trend line. Also the 200 EMA. XLM is a very good bet at the moment. So I would recommend doing something with XLM. And then the almighty XCN. XCN is forming more of a flag signal downward wedge. We are getting a little bit of rejection right in the center, which is expected, but we could see it push down towards this black line again. However, I think with the bull market and Bitcoin pushing upwards, we're going to see this come and tap for the third time or fourth time on the upward trend line. And we see that, we would expect to see a breakout and maybe a retest around 2 cents before pushing all the way up to 4 cents. Then bringing in the last few, actually I want to bring up QNT, Quant. I had people buy down here around $75, and the current increase in price from the 75 roughly is about 30% to 25% increase. You can see I had it listed here within the red. I was expecting some consolidation and then a push up over the $78. Quant can hit an all-time high of over $1,000. I believe the all-time high was around 3,000. So $100 investment to get 3,000 is not bad. So bringing in ADA, LCX, and Toshi last. ADA had a major pump. We do want to see it break and hold above this trend line right here, but also you can see inverse head and shoulders pattern within the daily chart, which could say that the next push up would be up to 0.91, and then slowly trace up and have a rapid movement after the consolidation at 0.91 up to $1.23. LCX, still not the best bet, but it is starting to show a little bit of support, inverse head and shoulders as well. And we want to see it push over this downward or this upward trend line and the 200 EMA before we can start seeing it hit all these yellow bars, being the next key levels to be looking at. And lastly, Toshi, inverse head and shoulders as well, and trying to push up over the 0.0004. Next stop is 0.0005, 0.0007, and 0.0009. Beyond that, it starts getting closer to the 0.001, and it does move very fast, so keep that in mind. I always recommend Grass if you want free airdrop tokens. I have a reference link below. Coinbase for free airdrop tokens, or the best trading platform with the lowest fees is MEXC, where you can actually buy and trade Torn or Tornado Cash. The one that is has an all-time high of around $400, is only sitting at $9 at the moment. All the reference links are listed below, and I will see you guys on the next one.